That's where we're going to start with this morning, the forthcoming governorship elections in Osun State. And we've got two guests who are joining us from Osogbo this morning. INEC Obi is the convener of Situation Room. She is also the country director for Action Aid. She joins us from Osogbo. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, we also do have Professor Convener Raji, who is the resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Osun State. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for joining us on the program today as well.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me as well.
All right, Prof. So I know that INEC, several meetings have been held with political parties and different stakeholders to ensure that the election turns out smooth. The chairman of INEC did talk about some concerns which he wants to see stamped out, but we'll come to that as we go ahead today. But for you, for these elections particularly, is that what you can describe as what ranks topmost on your scale of preference that the Commission likes to see addressed, which will be key or central to a credible, free and fair election for Osun State?
Well, thank you very much. As far as we are concerned, we have resolved to conduct a free, fair, credible, inclusive and conclusive election. And over the days, I've been seeking for the cooperation of the entire people of Osun State, and we have been getting that cooperation. You can actually see that from some of the clips that you have played. You see the cooperations we have gotten from the traditional rulers, and you could see the attendance at the two programs that we had in the last 2 days, as well. Over the period we were doing the continuous voter registration, as well as when people were collecting their permanent voter card, we were overwhelmed. That shows that there is a high level of enthusiasm on the part of people of Osun State. They actually want to vote, and up till today, the collection of the PVC is ending today. Still, we have a large crowd of people that are turning out in our offices and at the wards where we are doing the collection of the cards. So for us, we are ready to conduct a very free, fair and credible election, and we have not left any stone unturned. We did extensive voter education and sensitization. The primaries went smoothly, and everybody thought Osun was going to, turn upside down, but everything went well. And so we have been interacting with the people, and we are happy with the situation of things. Over the last 1 year, Osun has been calm, contrary to what people were expecting. So I think the people of Osun are truly the Omaluabis, the virtuous people, and they are ready for this election, and we are also relating with them in that manner.
Now, if the collection of the permanent voter cards end today, what time is that going to be, and what happens when you have so many people on the queue and you put a particular time? Does that then mean that, well, maybe you wait for the last person to pick it up, and after today, that will be it for this particular election? But we assume that they will still have a chance to pick it up for the general elections. Would that be the case?
Yeah, definitely, yes. But you know that in Nigeria and in fact in Africa, we have this 11-tower syndrome. That is just what is happening. This collection has started over a very long period now, and so it's just towards the end that people turn out. But I will commend the people. So they will have the chance to collect their cards after the election. We are still going to announce the dates when the cards will be collected. So there are opportunities for them to get their cards.
Many keep asking us, if they don't have that PVC and they've got the slip, they've been registered, their data is in the system, can they vote?
Well, we operate by the provisions of the Constitution. So what the Electoral Act states, and then the election procedures that we have circulated, is that you must show up at the polling unit with your card. So even if our system will accept it, I'm not saying it's going to accept it, we will not go against the provisions of law. So that is exactly what is going to happen. But let me add that as at 2 days ago, over 76% of the cards have been collected. So that's a very impressive figure.
Well, in fact, we got that 76% actually had been collected, but that was, days ago. And I'd like to get confirmation, especially for the figures now, so we know what to expect. How many registered voters do we have in Osun State? Just how many are you expecting to at least have collected their PVCs and be ready to vote? And maybe have you seen an increase? What is the target for collection? Are you planning to get to 100%, or at least maybe at 90% you're good?
Well, as a scientist, in most cases, you don't get to 100%. That's not reality. That's not even natural. But let me put it this way. As at the close of the registration, and when we ran the ABs, that is the verification, to remove the multiple registration and all those invalid registration, the figure of the number of registered voters in Osun State stands at 1,955,657. So out of that, about 1.5 million have collected the cards as at 2 or 3 days ago. So, well, we are trying to put the figures together so that I haven't gotten the figure as at yesterday's evening. But later, tomorrow, maybe in the morning, we are going to release the figure when the last person collects his cards today. So we have over 1.5 million that have collected out of that 1.95 million. You recall that in 2019, just 1.681 million were registered. So out of which about 1.2 were eligible to vote, those who have collected their cards then. So by implication now, just around 1.5 million will have the eligibility to vote. Not that we are disenfranchising the others, but those are the people that have collected their cards.
11th hour syndrome. I was going to say, that expression is not an African expression anyway, but it looks like we may have imbibed it more. But quickly, before we take this to Madam Obi, at what time exactly will the collection end for people listening who also want to collect? Is it at 4 p.m.? And what exactly happens? I think Chebele was asking the other time. Is it until the last person on the queue gets it, or at the time it closes, it closes?
Well, thank you very much. It depends on each place where the collection is taking place. In some places, they collect their slips and then look for the card and then issue the card. So in such a place, even when it's exactly 3 p.m. when it's supposed to end, we start normally at 9 a.m. and then ends by 3 p.m. So if they still have some outstanding that they have collected and we're searching for the cards, they definitely will have to issue those cards out and then close the collection.
Looks like a lot of work, really. And this is not even the election proper. This is just in the build-up to the election. But let's take this to Madam Obi and just get her views. You've been on ground for a while now, witnessed the peace accord signing. I've seen some of the materials you have put out on your platforms about the candidates, how much representation there is. But generally, when you look at the election on Saturday, what hits you?
I think I see a lot of preparedness towards the election, and as is customary, we had a meeting with the REC, a pre-meeting with the REC in order to look at the preparedness. We had a briefing with him, and we're satisfied with the level of preparedness. It's not like when they used to have a long term, you have a preparation in terms of training few days before the election, for especially the beavers, who were quite worried about the beavers. I think beavers was one of the things that was top on the agenda, and the briefing that we were given, showed that this REC is quite prepared for the election. And because of the training of so many of the NYC graduates who are excited, making them champions, and so there's so many processes that we have to do towards the election. And I think it's a tick for now. All the meetings that need to be held with the stakeholders from the national level down to the state level, it has been done. The peace accord was signed. And today, this afternoon, on issues of security, we're having a meeting with the DIG, here in Osogbo. And so, and then the observers, the last meeting with observers is holding with, the REC, with the team in Osun, INEC team in Osun today. For the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, we have been on ground. There has been the trainings of the observers from different perspectives. All of the civil society organizations that need to, have training done are doing it. I think the trainings are ending today for observers. CDD has been on ground. YAGA is on ground. They are deploying hundreds of observers. ActionAid has been on ground, deploying as well. Clean Foundation, Kimpact, and so many civil society organizations and the local organization, they have been, training. So I think we are set. All the other meetings that need to be held, I think more meetings are ending today, and tomorrow is about logistics. I think we are satisfied with the level of preparation. We had meetings, we went to, of course, with the state apparatus, the DSS, the police is today, and the INEC office. So we have been on ground. I think we're ready for the election. We hope that we can hold the political parties accountable for the promises that they have made. We were though worried that some of the political parties did not turn in for the signing of the peace accord yesterday. Those were, worrying signs for us, but I hope that the Kuka Foundation that is hosting the Peace Commission, will follow up with them so that they can sign, because I know that they are also having last-minute campaigns and, some protocols going on as well. I think we're ready.
Quite a number of, processes and preparation invested in the process, which is good. But speaking of holding politicians accountable, are you satisfied with the level of commitment shown by security agencies? Because just this morning, the papers are saying that gunshots were heard in some concentrated areas. And in the build-up to Saturday's election, party candidates have been attacked. Attacks in their homes have been recorded. So is anything security agents are doing giving you that assurance that, the conduct will not be impacted in the way of voter apathy because of, the security situation in Osun State?
I think as civil society organizations, we can only take the words that are coming out from the security, formation. The IGP made very concise, promises and put a lot of points on ground. We are hearing about, especially, on security, yes, we're looking at it. They have said that they're going to prosecute, they're going to arrest, and they have, more than 20,000, I think 21 or so, 1,000 or policemen that will be on ground. And so we can't but take their words. We're going to have further meeting this afternoon to raise our own concerns, because one of the biggest ones is also, let me go from some of the attacks that happened. It's surprising that those things are happening. Has the police followed up? Is some of the questions that we will be asking today, because at this time, when there is a threat, it needs to be followed up. We don't know whether it's because of some of the threats to some candidates that made them not to show up yesterday. So we will for now take the words that they have given us. The other side of it is vote buying. Vote buying was huge. in Ekiti, despite the fact that we say the election was, at least it went into a credible, stage, it was peaceful. But we need to be able to treat the issue of vote buying, because it means that if you have a genuine person, that person will not be able to come out, as a winning candidate. But vote buying and selling is a criminal offense. How are they arresting people? What is going on? What are the sanctions that is emitted? We're hearing from the Nigerian police that they have now set up, desks that will do investigation and also prosecute, which is quite promising. Because I believe that we have the systems to be able to arrest all of this. Vote buying seems to be done in secrecy. In what we saw in FCT election, you find out that, people will be migrating to a corner. And, within the 300-meter radius, which is covered by the new Electoral Act, we should be able to take a sort of observe what is going on. The police should be able to observe, because we now know that people are committing crimes, and we need to follow up and try to track it down. So I think also it will go to the citizens.
It's a good thing you have mentioned. It's a good thing you have mentioned vote buying, and to follow up with that, what we saw in Ekiti was the positioning of the ballot box, which, according to reports, may have encouraged vote buying because it was placed in the open. And INEC's explanation was that your party agents and indeed the electorates themselves demand some form of accountability, whereby they can see the voter casting his ballot, because if it is placed, beneath the voting booth, a lot of hanky-panky could be going on. But is that explanation by INEC sufficient, such that that's the best they can do to make the voting process accountable?
I think there are two sides to, having a transparent, environment, an accountable environment. Where you place it, are there other people? Because in the voting, every polling unit have the security people. They have the INEC personnel. Where they are going, can you guide them and ensure that nobody is close to them? You should be able to do that. I saw in Anambra, Anambra, where they were voting, and somebody tried to look, going behind them, and one policeman was constantly standing there and making sure that nobody got close to the person, and that the person would just go do the voting and just drop. Which means, we are investing a lot in security here. You have the security forces, you have the police, you have the civil defense, you have the army, you have a lot of people who are on ground. You have DSS, you have now ICPC and EFCC. So if people are on ground, how come people are able to still look over a shoulder, and you're watching it from afar and you're not telling? What we are now saying is activate your power. It's not for intimidating. Stand aside, like you see people on the queue, which you are showing now. If you see people on the queue, can you let people move in a way that nobody is seeing whatever somebody is doing? So I think the cubicles that they have now is even more protective than what we used to have in the past. So it's important that all security agencies, we should be able to have a pointer from EFCC, DSS, ICPC, and all the agencies that are on ground, but we are holding the police responsible, because vote buying is a criminal offense. The tracking, we did hear that in the primaries, the presidential primaries, we heard of the looting, or is it the payment of huge sums of amount. Nobody has been tracked. Nobody has been arrested. Does that mean, how can we be hearing something that is in the air? The Nigerian system has one of the most powerful systems. We now have our BVN. People are not taking this money and storing it in their houses. So what is happening to the network? So we need, the security is doing a lot, but they can do more.
All right.
They need to protect the candidates and then the safety of, of the ballot box.
Let's ask Professor Raji. Just before the Ekiti governorship elections, the chairman of INEC did say categorically that they, INEC, were going to prevent vote buying they'll make sure it doesn't mar the elections, as they have seen with elections conducted by political parties. And then Ekiti happened. The question of vote buying, images were all over the place concerning what transpired. So specifically now for these elections, what practical steps is INEC putting in place to stamp out this menace?
Well, thank you very much. As far as vote buying is concerned, let me tell you that INEC cannot prevent vote buying. We can only make effort to ensure that people are discouraged from doing it through voter education and sensitization, which we have been doing extensively. In fact, if you see many of our publications, that is exactly what is happening. I don't know where you got the word prevent, because that's not part of our mandate. Vote buying and selling is a criminal offense. INEC is not a security agency that can actually make arrest. We can only, inform the security agents that this is taking place at so place and it's a criminal offense, and they will arrest. Then prosecution will take place, where we will now be joined. So that is exactly what is happening. So I'm always surprised when people are talking of vote buying and vote selling and whatever, and they expect INEC to be able to stop an act that has nothing to do with the mandate of management of elections. So the people that are involved in vote buying and selling are actually those that should be addressed. But the part that INEC can play is what I have mentioned:
all right,
voter education and sensitization, which
let me read this out to you, Prof.
And we have done that here too as well.
Okay. The chairman of INEC did address the press, and then it was published on the 1st of June, 2022. And he says, quote, "We, INEC, are going to take steps with the EFCC and the ICPC to ensure that this sad trend of using money to bribe voters does not mar the forthcoming Ekiti elections, as we have seen in the elections conducted by political parties." That they were going to ensure that it doesn't mar the elections.
That is exactly what I've just told you. That is exactly, let me tell you something, that is exactly what I've said now. So that issue of prevention, that INEC will prevent, I don't know where it emanated from. We will work with the anti-graft agencies, ICPC and EFCC, and I've said that the security agencies, the agencies that are responsible for such
so if you're going to work with them, to what end?
Act,
isn't it to prevent it from happening?
Please hold on. And hold on, let me tell you something. We are working with them. We have a committee, interagency committee on election, consultative committee on election security. ICPC, the police, all other security agencies and EFCC are members, and we meet regularly, and that is exactly what is happening. So even when we are doing the collection of the card, the ICPC and EFCC were moving around to ensure that people are not either paying our staff or bribing whoever to collect cards. So that is their mandate. Our mandate is to manage elections, and we will work with them. Does not mean that we are going to prevent. How can we prevent something that is not part of our job? But we can facilitate the prevention.
In other words,
working with the agencies that
are. So should we then take it that, when the commission says we're going to work with them to ensure that this does not mar the elections, whereas it's understood that when you're working with those agencies, it's to prevent it, to make sure it doesn't happen. You're not working to supervise it, you're working to prevent it.
It is to prevent it. It is to prevent it, but the way you put it was INEC will prevent. INEC cannot prevent. INEC can work with agencies that are responsible for the prevention, and that's exactly what we are doing.
So what is the role of INEC in this case? Just to work with them and that's it?
The role of... are we not working with you now? Are you not promoting voter education as a media outfit?
With respect to...
So can you prevent robbery? But you report robbery.
There are two different things, Prof. Because you are saddled with that responsibility
let us put it straight.
That
let's get it.
Maybe you don't like the word prevent. Is that the point?
Right. Let's get it right. That's exactly what we can do. Because you are putting something that is not ours on us, and I must not accept that. Otherwise, you will eventually take me up that you are not able to prevent it. But that's not the mandate given to me. I am to work with these agencies to ensure that they reduce it to the barest minimum and, if possible, prevent it outrightly. And we have been doing that. We have been working with them.
Speaking of working with them, Prof, in the Ekiti election, we saw and we reported that the EFCC was able to arrest some vote buyers, you know, in a particular location. So can we take it that INEC is vigorously pursuing that case? Because experts have identified vote buying and selling to thrive because INEC does not prosecute electoral offenders. So should we take it for granted that INEC is vigorously pursuing that outcome of vote buying in the Ekiti election?
Definitely, of course. So if INEC would call the security agents to arrest somebody, we definitely will follow it up, and we are following in a lot of cases up. You've heard of the case of somebody that was involved in giving our cards out to some other people. We are still following it up. I still discussed that with the police yesterday. So, but it is not everything that is happening internally that you will know publicly. So, but if you care to know, then we will show you all the necessary cases that we are still following up.
Some of these cases are in court, and we expect that prosecution will happen, an eventual, I don't know, sentence handed down. Let's, come back to, some of the general areas, and we're due for a break in about 3 minutes. Let me take this to Madam Obi first, to speak to, this issue of voter inducement, financial voter inducement. And you've listened to Prof, Madam, and I wonder what's your perspective on INEC's role in ensuring, INEC's messaging, how INEC, puts out these messages such that whoever is going to be involved in this has that mentality that, wherever I turn, whatever happens, nobody is going to permit this act that I'm trying to perpetrate. So how do you think INEC can be a part of this? What do you think INEC should be doing to ensure there is no financial voter inducement?
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, good morning, Prof. It's good to see you here. I think Prof will need to, for some of the things that we're looking at, is you're doing it already. INEC has improved. I want to commend INEC at the national level and also at the state levels for the work that they are doing. The improvement we have today is because of the steps that were taken by INEC. And that is the prevention we are talking about. Before now, you can snatch ballot boxes and it will be okay, and you do some printing. It was the efforts of INEC that over the years, because of looking at lessons learned from past elections, that made them now that ballot box snatching is no longer in vogue. Because even if you snatch now, what are you going to do with it? You can't do thumb printing anymore, and it will work for you. And so there are so many things that INEC has done. If you say you cannot prevent robbery, I want to use the example of Prof. You cannot prevent robbery, but you can lock your door. And so even at the police station, the polling unit, from the Electoral Act, it gives you the liberty to be able to monitor what is happening within 300 meters. And so when you look at that, within those 300 meters, we have the police there. In many of the polling units, you have the DSS, you have ICPC, you have the civil defense and several forces. What we are asking is activate those things to put their eyes on ground. There is no way that many of these people we should be able to have a lot of examples from, Osun State that will tell us that even that is becoming impossible. Vote buying and selling is happening in this environment and people watch it. But how do you prevent it? Yes, we're talking about from the civil society angle, we're educating the public, we're sensitizing the people about the dangers of vote buying. This is, what happens is you selling your vote. At the end of the day, the person comes and loot the treasury. Can you hold that person accountable? You cannot hold that person accountable because you are also guilty. And we are telling citizens that it is important for you to be vigilant. Those who are giving money are not the people who are going to do any kind of work for you. If you are looking at what is happening today, many of the governors, when they win the elections, of course, they have so many things that comes to them even after the leadership of the state. Only pension gift cannot continue with that.
We'll go to break now, but we'll come back to you to continue your train of thought in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Yeah, welcome back. We're still counting down to Osun governorship election. It's this Saturday, months and months of preparations. All of that comes down to this Saturday, the moment of truth. Let's continue our conversation with Madam NLB. We still have Professor Abdulgani Raji also joining us, the rec for Osun State. But Madam Obi, before that break, you were talking about, voter inducement, what should be done, and all of that. And I'm thinking from the kind of messaging from INEC, for example, saying that, well, we're not meant to prevent, it's not our job to prevent. I wonder if that's a concern for you, because for those listening who may have plans already, wouldn't they think, oh, okay, it looks like this is a fertile ground to perpetrate this act. So maybe should the wording be, well, we have zero tolerance for financial voter inducement, we do not condone this, so that people listening can as well say that, well, INEC means business, and there's not going to be any sort of that.
I think for me, I want to appeal to Prof and the team to pronounce it better. I'm sort of confused and appreciative because I think they're really doing it already. Of course, you are doing vote buying prevention. That's why you got the kind of cubicles that you have now. That's why we make sure that the people don't crowd the environment. If you don't crowd the environment, rigging becomes even more impossible, or vote buying becomes more impossible. The environment that you establish is very, very important. The ambience of the environment is very, very important. The tolerance of your team is also another very important level. And so, I did commend you earlier, and all the preparedness that you have done is to improve from where we are coming from. We also have the assurance that Osun will be better than Ekiti, and that's what we're looking forward to. And I'm really a bit confused to hear that, you are not doing prevention. Of course you are doing prevention. Or maybe is it a confusion from my side? Every step that you are taking is to make the place better. Like persons with disabilities, for example. We complained, because of the different factors of the height of the cubicle and all of that. And I know that INEC is doing certain things about it. You have the preferential or the priority line for people with disability, pregnant women, expectant mothers. You also have, for aged people. And we saw that playing in the past elections, that people are taking it very seriously. So I think it's important that you keep up to see that you're working your promise with the security agencies. You are able to keep it up, and everyone is involved to make a difference.
All right.
Why don't we make a difference now? We say, arise, O compatriots. Everybody is arising. We are working from the civil society, the media, and all of your team. People have not been sleeping. The difference that we make is the improvement in the election.
Okay, so Prof, after the Ekiti happened, the chairman of INEC, of course, also spoke about what transpired. He wasn't happy with some things that played out during that election. And again, he says, quote, clearly, vote buying is a threat to our electoral democracy. To discourage the practice, we changed the configuration of our polling units to bring the ballot boxes closer to the voting cubicles and also banned the use of mobile phones and photographic devices by voters while in the voting cubicles. Can you hear me? Okay, so is this what we should expect for these elections? And could you shed some light on this now? How is the voting going to play out in terms of the voting cubicles, as it were? Okay, I think we lost the communication channel with Professor Raji. We'll come back to him as soon as we get that back on. But Madam Ene, the voting cubicles, the positioning of the voting cubicles, is not the first time that this kind of concern has been raised, because they say that it facilitates, it even helps those who take advantage of that in terms of how they show where they've thumbprinted to people who then take them to a particular corner. What would you like to see this time around?
I think it's actually not, it's actually not a fact that somebody can thumbprint for another. The problem that we have had
Uh-oh. Well, that also feels at the moment, but, well, don't worry, we don't expect this scenario to play out on the election day in Osun, so no voter will face this kind of scenario. But we haven't even spoken about the beavers, for instance. You remember that, guys, there was a lot of enthusiasm about beavers for Anambra, only for them to show up, and then that happened. But we're hoping that we'll get to that point. So, Madam Obi, yeah, we've got you back. So could you go ahead with your response about the positioning of the voting cubicles and the voter?
The positioning, we have been worried about it, and what we have done with INEC all this while is to review every election that we move through. And so the voting cubicles, people are getting worried now because they see that some people take pictures. But if we have, the watchful eyes of the security people, as you move in there, you cannot take a snapshot. Once you have printed, you ought to come out straight. I think the fastness of that, has to do with it. People have thought, okay, why don't you just put the ballot box right in front there? And we are looking at the secrecy of the person's voting, and also to make sure that the person doesn't have anything in their pockets. And so it's a balance here, but I think they will shift it better this time. We hope that at the end of the day, we have a better process. But it's a learning process. We review this all of the time, and we need to get back there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professor
On the beavers, yeah,
just a minute. Let's get Prof to give us what a scenario, bird's eye view of what to expect on that day. So, Prof, I hope you can hear this now. So, could you tell us, what should we expect concerning positioning of the ballot boxes on that day?
Okay, thank you very much. That's actually our role, our own mandate, to ensure that we take steps that will make some of these activities not to be practiced within the precincts of the polling units. And that's the way I wanted it to be, related to people. But because you will eventually take me up and take the chairman up if you are quoting us out of context that we are preventing. I'm not arguing that we are taking preventive measures, but we are ensuring that this will not happen by working with the security agencies, but our own role is to ensure that these things doesn't happen within the precincts. And that's part of the reasons why, like Madam said, we have a new design for our cubicles that will not allow people to see when somebody is voting. But let me put it this way. By law, what we operate is an open, secret, open election, balloting. What is the first open? The first open one is you bring your card, we do accreditation. Everybody will see what we are doing. You'll be issued ballot paper in the open. And then you go into the cubicle to go and cast your vote secretly without anybody seeing you. And then you now come to the open again to drop your ballot paper into the ballot box. You are expected to have folded your ballot paper after casting your vote before you now come and put it in the ballot box. Now,
Prof, the
when somebody
point
chooses
is, Prof, let me just quickly come in there. Pardon me, Prof. Let me come in there. It is at that point that the voter does not conceal.
It
is at that point that the voter does not conceal the ballot. The ballot paper is folded in such a way that the party agent can see
thank you very much. If you had allowed me, hold on. If you had allowed me to finish, there wouldn't be any need for you to even just cut in. The issue is when somebody decides to open it and go and now drop the opened paper in the ballot, he has run foul of the law, and such a person should be arrested. And it is not the presiding officer that will arrest, it is the security agents that will arrest. And that is why the chairman said we will ensure we work with the security agencies. This is exactly the explanation that I've been making. But you see, sometimes some words we will be eventually taken up if we accept some things.
So what can be done to prevent it at that level? Can the number of party agents be reduced within the precincts of the voting area? Can the ballot box be positioned in such a way that the voter is concealed from party agents?
You see, the law states that each party must have an agent, so we cannot reduce the number of party agents. That is not possible. But there are rules to be observed. Where they will stay is specified. So when those are not, being respected, it is the duty of our presiding officer to ensure that he calls the security agents to ensure that those people respect the rules and regulations governing the conduct of the election. So that's why we will have to work together, but not saying that INEC must, INEC will. Of course, INEC cannot be an island on his own. Well, we will have to work with every other person. So please, I don't want to be quoted out of context.
It's okay, Prof.
I don't want to be misunderstood. Well, please, let me explain.
No, Prof, because of time.
I was going to give
because
an
of
example.
time, we're totally out of time, Prof. Of course, I know. We're working together on this, and I appreciate your position. Okay, but I think the point should be made that INEC essentially has zero tolerance for financial inducement.
We should also work together
and all
with
of that.
the media.
Absolutely.
The press,
but on a final note,
as well.
On a final note, Prof, which is what we're doing. On a final note, so in the 2018 election, we had a rerun. The margin, about 350 something, was less than the number of cancelled votes, and that was a major challenge. Seeing that there were lots of cancelled votes, over 3,000 cancelled votes, and I wonder, learning from that experience, do you think INEC may have learned from that and hopefully will prevent such in this particular election?
Yeah, exactly. We have learned from that, and then there are some amendments that have been made to the Electoral Act of 2010, which eventually led to the Electoral Act 2022. So some of these steps were taken. The amendment emanated from the lessons that we have learned in the previous elections that made us make some recommendations. And then we sat even with the National Assembly, with a lot of stakeholders before we made all our recommendations. So you will see an improvement, and you have been seeing improvement. Of course, in Ekiti, there was not even a single cracker, no death, no injury, no whatever. So we are improving. And that's exactly what I'm saying. We should all work together. The press, the security, INEC, everybody.
All right.
And the electorate as well as the political class.
That's what we always like to do here as a matter of fact, moving forward. So we'll keep in touch and ensure that at least let the people keep understanding how the BVAS will play out, how collation of ballots will not be a challenge, how rigging will be stamped out. So all of that information we'll keep passing out to the people as much as we get them from your commission, yourself, and the lot. But I want to thank you for coming on today, Professor Abdulganir Raji, the Resident Electoral Commissioner for INEC in Osun State, as well as Madam Ene Obi, the convener of Situation Room and Country Director for Action Aid. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
All right.